Hi guys, Tim Painter here again. I got to tell you about one of the toughest experiences of my life, which I had the night before last night. It was just horrible. I was driving from Denver to Breckenridge, and they closed the Eisenhower Tunnel, which is a tunnel that goes under the Continental Divide, and they were diverting everybody up over Loveland Pass, which is the old route. Goes up about 11,900 feet. And so all of a sudden I'm driving and I get vertigo. And I mean serious vertigo. I've never been on an acid trip, I've never taken acid, but I can imagine that's kind of how you'd feel. It felt like somebody put their big palm on the road and just twisted it. I saw the lines twisting, and I was so dizzy that I had a hard time figuring out even where the road was. So fortunately, I was able to make my way over to a little teeny 12-foot wide shoulder. And on one side, on my right side, was about a 3,000-foot drop, almost straight down. The vehicle would have rolled, 50 times going down that. And on the left side, a very narrow 2-lane Loveland Pass. So here I am now really in trouble because I can't stand up. I'm so dizzy. Nothing is straight. Everything is spinning. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen if a state patrolman stops me? Then I'm really in trouble. Because the state patrolman, if he doesn't smell alcohol, he's going to suspect drugs. Well, you know what? I don't do drugs. But he's going to suspect them. And so he's going to want me to do the roadside maneuvers, which I would refuse to do because I wasn't drinking and I didn't do drugs. Something was just going on inside my head. And then his only other thing that he could do with me would be to arrest me and tow the car and do a search for drugs or alcohol. It would have been just a disaster. So what I did do is I finally called a friend from Denver, and he and his girlfriend made the drive, the hour-and-a-half drive up to where I was, and so then they drove me back to my place. So what are the lessons here? There are some pretty tough lessons. First of all, don't ever trust a policeman in a situation like that. They are trained so vigilant against DUI drivers. Great thing. Good that you guys are. But they're not looking for people who are having emergencies on the middle of the road. And that's really bad. But we still don't know what caused this. It could have been lack of oxygen. I am on oxygen anyway, and I'm wondering if when I got to that altitude, it just wasn't enough oxygen. It could be wax in your ear. A lot of things can cause vertigo, and I probably need to get to a doctor to find out. But getting back to the policeman, his role is to look for DUI drivers, and he's not there really to help somebody who he couldn't really ascertain what kind of medical emergency I was having. The other option was to call 911 and have them send in an ambulance up, and I'm fighting with my insurance company right now anyway. I'm not sure that kind of call would have been covered, so I could have ended up with a $3,000 or $4,000 ride down the hill to a hospital. So it was a really unfortunate thing. So my advice to you is when you're driving, if you have that kind of emergency, and I've been driving for 50 some years and never had that, and most of you probably don't either, but it could happen. If you find yourself in a situation like this, there are a few things to remember. Number one, take the key out of the ignition. That's one test to tell whether you're driving or not. And I remember one of my first DUI cases that I defended, my client had left the key in the ignition. He knew he was intoxicated. He crawled into the back seat, and he was sleeping when the policeman stopped him and investigated. And because the key was in the ignition, they ruled that he was actually driving the vehicle. It's just stupid when people do the right thing. So take the key out of the ignition and put it somewhere in the vehicle that's not readily accessible to you. Get out of the driver's seat. And as I was saying in the case of my client, just getting out of the driver's seat didn't help him. He was asleep in the back seat. So they still busted him for DUI. But it can help at least the argument. If you have to go in front of a jury, you can say, look, I wasn't even in the driver's seat. I didn't have what we call care and control of the vehicle. make sure you have your story straight. And although I was slurring my speech a little bit, and which makes me a little concerned over a potential stroke, but I was still thinking clearly, and that's really important, to stay calm and think clearly during these kinds of things. So it was a really interesting experience, and I've also learned a few things personally. One, I need to get to the bottom of this before I do any more nighttime driving. I'm sure the lack of the moon, the high altitude, the lack of oxygen in the air, all kind of contributed to this. And usually I don't share these things. This is a very personal thing that I'm talking about, something that scared the hell of the living daylights out of me. But I'm an open book. My life is an open book, and I'm kind of vlogging and telling people what happens along the way. So this is Tim Painter, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye.